Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of Crazy Talk, where we explore ideas from the fever swamps of the internet to question prevailing narratives with the goal of empowerment and liberation. Just a reminder, I'm not trying to convince you of anything, just sharing thoughts and information. So please, don't take my word for any of this stuff. As always, do your own research. Hey folks, welcome back for another episode. Today we're going to be exploring the theory of Satan's little season. And whoa, there are so many YouTube videos on this one. And most of them are pretty long, some even 2 or 3 hours. So I'm going to try and keep this one short. If you want more, I've got great links in the description below. And let me tell you right up front, though I have my own personal relationship with Jesus, I'm not a Bible person or what most folks would consider a proper Christian. And this episode is very Bible-y, being mostly drawn from Revelations. I do apologize if I get some of the wording or concepts wrong, but I hope to convey the gist of it to you. So let's dive right in. Most Christians today are waiting for the return of Jesus Christ after the tribulations and judgment, and then the millennial reign begins, where Christ reigns with a rod of iron with his resurrected saints for 1,000 years. Many believe this is coming very soon, honestly, just around the corner. The little season idea is that this has already happened, that Christ returned shortly after his crucifixion, probably around 70 AD, and came with a host of angels, and they just wiped out what we now call the Roman Empire, although it was actually a worldwide empire. And so we're living after the 1,000-year millennial reign of Christ. As the theory goes, we're currently living in the little season, where Satan has been let loose from the pits of hell for a short time, the so-called little season, to deceive the nations, gather an army from the 4 corners of the earth, encircle and attack the saints and their beloved city. I think we're not quite to that part yet. But hey, with the saints under siege, God sends fire from heaven to destroy Satan's army, and then at the great white throne, all are judged by their works, with the righteous entering the new heaven and new earth, where God establishes his eternal kingdom. Well, we're definitely not to that part, but as far as Satan deceiving the nations, well, that seems quite believable. For me, at least. So, is there anything in the actual Bible to suggest this might be true? Well, yeah. There are quite a few passages where Jesus is quoted as saying, "Hey folks, don't worry, I'll be right back. You'll see me coming in the clouds with my angel pals before most of y'all taste of death." Okay, I'm totally paraphrasing there, but I'm just going to flash a few of these up on the screen here so you can hit pause if you'd like to read them. I'm trying to keep this video somewhat short, so I'm not going to read through them for you. Okay, so that's in the Bible, but is there any other evidence? Well, yeah, there sure is. We've been told that the Roman Empire declined and fell over hundreds of years, but there are signs that it may have actually happened in just a day or two. Huge parts of the earth appear to have been scorched. There's melted buildings, whole cities and towns buried under 25 to 40 feet of earth. And not just Rome, but many parts of Europe, the UK, even India and the Mayan civilization, just all over the place. So that was the tribulation, or first trumpet, or whatever, which was followed by the millennial reign of Christ, where the faithful were given glorified bodies and helped Christ rule. Now that's what so many Christians are looking forward to, and it seems to have already happened. Sorry, folks. Now you might be thinking, well, wouldn't we know about that? Our history clearly refutes this whole idea. When was all of this supposed to have happened? Well, as you know, Satan is sometimes known as the father of lies. So basically our history is concocted, and part of that is we're told the story about the Dark Ages, right? 1,000 years where basically nothing happened. Humanity was stagnant, stuck in the mud, miserable. Does that ring a bell? Well, Satanists are all about inversion. And so many believe that this was actually a time of light instead of dark, and this is when Christ actually reigned. And once he was back on earth, all of our history and much of our science was revised in a diabolical way. By the way, whether you or I actually believe in Satan, it's very clear that some folks do and actually worship him. And that's a bit of a problem because these Satanists have been deeply embedded in governments, churches, education, medicine, you name it. And they fancy themselves at war with God. And they try to hurt God through cruelty to nature, animals, and people, especially women and children, and especially babies. But hey, let's get back to the little season idea. The idea that the millennial reign has already happened ties in nicely with the whole Tartarian thing. If you haven't heard about that, I do have a video on it you can check out. But we've got evidence in the form of magnificent buildings that there was an advanced civilization preceding us. The horse and cart people did not and could not have built these gorgeous structures. Also, if you look at the grandeur of, say, Notre Dame in Paris versus the glorious cities showcased in the World's Fairs around the turn of the last century, you can see how there seems to be a progression of craftsmanship that must have happened over a very long period of time. All of this architecture is divinely inspired, but it keeps getting more and more refined. So another key part of the little season theory has to do with timeline manipulation. In short, we're not actually in 2025 today, that being the time of this recording. Roughly 1,000 years may have been added to our calendar, perhaps to dislocate us, to distance us from the idea of Christ on earth. This is a whole topic unto itself, but there's actually a fair amount of evidence that I just can't get into here. I guess the gist of it is that according to this little season theory, Jesus was here ruling the earth really not that long ago. How long ago exactly? Well, some really bad stuff definitely began happening in the early 1800s. There was some sort of reset probably in the 1840s, but some folks seem to put it back, the return of Satan, I should say, to around 1776. Hey, which would mean that next year would mark the 250th anniversary. So the idea is that if Christ reigned for 1,000 years and there are 4 seasons, then one season might be 250 years, just speculation. But that would put us possibly near the end of Satan's little season, which, yay. The thing I personally like about this Satan's little season theory is that A, it explains why the world and humanity are so messed up right now. Most of us have probably just accepted that wars, conquest, poverty, pestilence, division, lies is just part of human nature. And maybe they're not. Maybe we're just being tortured and tempted and messed with. And B, maybe it's just about over and we're all here for the grand finale. I really like that. Perhaps, to borrow from Tolkien, the ring has already gone into the fire and we're just witnessing the scouring of the Shire. As far as the Great White Throne and Judgment bit, I don't know. But hey, best of luck to y'all. As always, do your own research and have a great rest of your day.